couple of years down the road, you are so you don't have a full-time job. You just have like a bunch of side gigs going on.
Okay. What am I doing?
So like you're so from like one part of income that you do is uh you're like officiating weddings.
Okay. I bet I'd be really good at that.
Yeah. Like so basically the you have a few different things. You have So you have several different like price points for this, like packages. Package number one is called Aaron's number one package. And what it is it's sort of the standard stuff, You officiate the wedding, uh, you give, a little sermon, about the couple, and it's fairly lighthearted, but they expect you not to, be like insane or like super dirty. You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't.
unless they're into that. In which case, that's like the next price point up. It's actually a little bit, it's about $50 more expensive to have you do officiate a wedding, but like working blue, as they used to say,
The
Like a
wedding.
I know,
Yeah,
but
I'm not gonna do a
some people
blue
like stuff like that.
wedding.
Yeah, some people like stuff like that. And so when that happens, you go up and you're like if it's kind of hot out, like the first thing you'll say is like holy shit, it is hot. I'll be the one to say it, whatever, stuff like that, and you lightly roast, uh, and stuff like that.
That sucks.
That's another package. There's the which you call the elite, which you also act as a like a chauffeur, like you drive them around in like a limo and stuff like that.
Have a limo
Yeah. Yeah, you
and like a chauffeur's license.
huh? Yeah, you actually won the limo and the chauffeur's license um at in like a raffle. You were at a the Los Angeles Old Timey County Fair, and it is like their whole thing is that their rides look like they're from like back in the day, almost like Victorian. It's a very Victorian aesthetic, but they're modern day roller coasters. So it has the look and the aesthetics of the, Victorian age with like the sleek modern twists and turns that roller coaster heads have come to demand from today's roller coaster experience.
Okay.
So, so you're hanging out, and the way that you won it was you were at this at the fair, and one of the they have like a really really difficult game from the year 1890. It's basically like a Rube Goldberg device type thing, and you have to throw like a deceptively heavy white ball up to the top of it, and it goes through all these crazy wacky things, and no one's ever been able to like actually get to the end with it. It's just purely by chance, but you actually were able to do it. You completed
Okay.
the Rube Goldberg device.
Sheer luck.
Yeah. Also, before you did it, you this I guess this like little kid had like climbed on top of one of the like the roof of like a gift shop, and he like tripped and like fell, and you ran and like jumped and saved him from hitting the
What?
ground. Yeah. And his mom like runs up to you and she's like, bless you, Aaron. She looks you deeply in the eyes and she goes, bless you.
Okay.
So
Thanks.
she goes, thank you so much. She leaves. So you receive this woman's blessing and you complete the Rube Goldberg device. And the prize, because it's such like a hard thing to do, an unexpected thing to do. Like you had to be like divinely blessed to be able to do it, essentially. Um, the prize is a limousine and a functioning chauffeur's license.
That's crazy. Hmm.
It's unexpected for sure. I mean, you didn't
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you didn't go to the fair thinking that, you were gonna leave with honestly a pretty cool looking limousine and a
What
chauffeur's license.
what
You didn't
kind of
know.
limousine is it? Is it like a normal standard, like classic, like town car limousine kind of thing, or is it like a cool one?
So it's a very classy looking town car.
Wait, this is just it. Are you doing this because of the background photo? Is that where this is all going from? Because the background photo is a very long car trailer device.
And the limo that you get is like
Pat.
pristine white.
Yeah.
Almost the color of like exposed bone. That's what you think when you see it. So so you officiate weddings and stuff and you drive them but again, that's part of the elite package. Not everyone elects to get that.
Sure.
So you're officiating weddings. That's like one of your side hustles. You're also, doing comedy on the side. You're running a show. Uh it's like a artisanal pottery store once a month. The first Monday of the month, but also every Friday the 13th, they let you run a show there. Uh so you host a show there, um and you call it the Wheel of Comedy. And like the logo, because it's at like this pottery place, the logo is like this, spinning clay wheel, and you're in front of it, and you're like, you're wearing like a tuxedo. It's just for the photo. It's not for the actual show.
Oh, good.
So they they pay you to do that. It's not like an insane amount of money, but it's a nice extra couple $100, every month and every Friday the 13th.
Oh, thank good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Every show I would write a the movie Ghost themed joke, and I would have a new one every show. Everyone.
there's like it just so happens this year that like there's actually like three Friday the 13th in a row.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. Astrologers call it uh the year of Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Just because of like, and also like it occurs a few more other times, just not, consecutively. So that
I
year
I
there's a
think that's
lot
how
of
like
Friday the
calendar
13th.
math works.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
Three in a row.
I'm not an astrologer, so it's hard for me to explain it, but that's just what happens. And so you are doing, stuff like that. You have a lot of like, you know, side hustles. But the one that gives you the most money, it doesn't give you the most joy. The wedding officiating, to be honest with you, Aaron, that's the one that like, you don't do that one as often as the other ones, but it's your favorite side hustle to do.
Sure.
You just think it because the couples that come to you, these are couples that are they vary widely in terms of like their backgrounds, how old they are, stuff like that. But they all have one thing in common. None of these couples are going to get a divorce.
Really?
There's a lot of love. Yeah. Because the way that it works is like anybody who's going to hire, a comedian to officiate a wedding has to be somebody is a couple that is they don't necessarily they're not taking themselves seriously. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, let's just do something kind of fun for this. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They're couples who you have a saying in your brochure that says, uh, the couples that laugh together, dot dot dot, stay together.
Wow.
That's
That's
like that's your main focus in these brochures.
the couples that laugh together stay together.
Dot dot dot.
Dot, sorry, dot, 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 stay
Yeah.
together.
And yeah. And you always try to work that into one of your speeches that you give.
It sucks. I'm better than this.
But you like it because, like I said, there's a lot of love and there's a lot of interesting pairings. You officiate a wedding between um uh a Hatfield and a McCoy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They decided to
Finally bury the hatchet.
yeah, so the Hatfields and the McCoys are this a long-standing famous feud in America. I don't exactly remember somewhere, southern and, sort of rural, I believe. And they have like this long-standing, personal beef, and over the years they've killed each other and, betrayed each other and blah 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 blah. Even though these days it's not really that much of a thing,
Sure.
at this point they're like that was so long ago, whatever. But the two families have decided, like, you know what? In these crazy, uncertain times, we're going to show people that, like, if we can bury the hatchet, we're showing everybody that they can bury the hatchet.
Yeah.
And so it's it's kind of seen as like it's almost like a political move, like on Game of Thrones, like they're joining their houses together type of thing.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
so it's definitely like it's a arranged marriage, but these two, it was love at first sight, you know? They just like clicked.
Well, good for them.
Amy Hatfield and Trevor the Trev dog McCoy.
The Trev dog.
Yeah. So so that was like that got written up in like a newspaper. It was just, people just thought it was like an interesting story, and
Sure.
it's the story is mostly about what their wedding means, but they definitely do talk a little bit about the wedding experience itself. They're like, and the wedding was capably officiated by you know, comedian and wedding guy Aaron Brooks. So
Wedding guy.
yeah, so that actually even though it's the one that you do the least amount, that actually definitely got you some more business
Yeah.
and a lot more eyes on your website.
What's my URL?
Um, www.aaronswackyweddings.com.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that's
where
the
I
name of your
post all my
company.
different packages.
Yeah, Aaron's Wacky Weddings. So that's, the one that you enjoy the most. But the one that you actually end up doing the best in financially is poker.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
I don't like to gamble. And I'm not good with numbers.
Yeah. So you were left money in a will. You were left like $16,000, but the stipulation is that it had to be gambled with at least like one round.
16 large.
Yeah. And so it was a will from like a very distant uncle.
I think if that's the case, then I'm just going to put it all on one, and it's a 50-50 shot,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Your uncle's
You
name
got
was it was Baron von Brooks, and he's from Transylvania.
Vaughn. So his
Yeah.
middle name is Vaughn.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in Transylvania, you learned a little bit about them, but the locals and stuff that most people didn't want to talk about him. But they did tell you they're like, yeah, he definitely only came out at night. Uh,
Great,
and we tried not to catch his eye. That's pretty much all like you'll get out of him. He owns so many bats, dude.
great. Baron Von.
Baron von Brooks, and so you got 16 large, and you went to the local casino, Lanalax Gambling.
Likes gambling.
Yeah, gambling. I don't know what the current laws are in California, but as far as gambling goes, I don't think it's they don't have like casinos or anything, right? Or do they?
Do they? I don't know. I think they
I don't think
do.
they do they. So a
Yeah.
few years down the road, gambling in Los Angeles has become like people look at it as like the new Vegas. And the talk of the town is that like, Los Angeles over the past, several years has quietly become the like destination for in-person gambling. And so, you won't really pay.
Clearly not a gambler. I don't even know if you can gamble here.
So that's the thing
There's
is
a casino.
it's not
I
like you
don't,
knew anything about these things.
and I have to
So
gamble with this.
yeah.
I have
So
to.
yeah, so you just go in and you see the one where how you can bet on like a number or like a color that like the ball
The
lands on or whatever.
roulette. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm putting it
So
all on black.
yeah, you walk over, you put down $16,000 worth of ice cold Lanalax poker chips. They keep them in the freezer when they're
Why?
not being
Why are they
used,
keeping in the freezer?
so they
Why are you
last
keeping
longer.
poker?
That's their explanation. You don't buy it, but you're like, whatever. And so you push it in and everyone kind of like looks up, they like gasp because that's like, that's the biggest bet of the hour.
Yeah, yeah.
A few people go like, oh, they're like
They
gasp.
they audibly gasp at a $16,000 bet. 16, I mean, that's a lot of money, but to audibly gasp,
It almost feels like there's like a cone of silence around you guys because in that immediate area, everyone has stopped what they're doing and they're looking at you. And you can see that in the background, there's still, stuff going on. There's still life and stuff, but like you can't hear anything that's going on there. You know what I mean? You can just see them in the background, like just talking, but you can't hear anything. It's almost like a perfect silence as you look up and you break it by going like, you go, always bet on black. And you put on a pair of shades. Everybody's like, everyone is like really into it.
they're into this.
And once you know it, it fucking lands on black, baby.
Holy shit.
And everyone goes like, yeah, like,
Yeah.
and so you end up like, winning a very substantial amount of money that night. And you drive home and you're
How
like,
much in total?
uh, $250,000.
250. Holy shit.
And that is after your very generous tip.
$250,000? That's like a life-changing amount of money for me.
Yeah. Um, you tip, you know, a few grand, whatever the appropriate amount would be. You're more
Sure.
familiar with it at this point than I would be. Uh, and you also leave behind a copy of your stand-up record,
No, I
Secrets.
don't. No, I don't. I don't even have a copy of it. I don't have like physical copies of it.
You don't, but you have like a QR code that they can scan for.
I'm not going to give them no.
But no, they
No.
asked, they were interested. Like you ended up talking to, um, you ended up talking to, a car dealer and stuff, and like you just have the fucking time of your life.
Yeah. I mean, I just won $250,000.
And so you're in a very good mood, and you mentioned to one of the dealers that you are a stand-up comedian, and he's like, "Oh man, I could have guessed that," like smiling at you, and
Oh
he goes
no.
like, and he's like, "Oh, do you have any like videos or anything?" And you're like, "Well, I mean, I got this album that I did," and he's like, "Cool, man, maybe I'll hear it one day." And so you're like, "Hell yeah!" And you leave a generous tip and a link to record your record. As you leave, you see like the pit boss walk over to this guy and like bring him to the back. It turns out that this guy had been like stealing from the casino, and they're like gonna like beat the shit out of him and like break his legs and
Jesus
stuff.
Christ.
But he does later on download the album and listens to it in his recovery. He thinks it's fine.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus. That's fine.
So you start getting like really into poker at this point. You realize that that is the one thing that you are getting very good at. And people are saying, like, the local poker community is like, where did this guy come from? Like you have no history of like online gambling or anything like that. So people are like, they don't know, you know, who you are, what your story is, where the fuck you came from. You wear like a hoodie and those black fucking shades when you play.
No, come on. Like the Unabomber?
Well, you're no, it's not like the Unabomber, but no, it's not like the Unabomber. You look rad as fuck. You're trying to conceal, your poker face.
Okay.
One thing that online c- commenters are doing, or like the people, the not online commenters, but um yeah, I guess it would be, yeah, because it's like recorded and put online stuff. The online commentators who are like watching the games and explaining it to the people watching at home and stuff like that. And they are like freaking out about you.
So weird.
They're like, where the hell did this guy come from? They're like, they call you the most mysterious man in poker. And you're kind of like, it's the day before this like big tournament.
Yeah.
And you're, laying in bed and you're thinking, someone had just sent you don't like actively look out at articles written about you or videos analyzing your gameplay or anything like that. But occasionally somebody will send you one if it's just like super positive, you know what I mean? They'll just be like, "Oh man, hell yeah, this guy really dug it," and they'll like send it to you. You know what I mean?
Great.
And so You're just like sitting there lying in bed and you think to yourself, like, man, if only they knew the truth. The reason that your gameplay has been like so fucking good, but also so unpredictable is that the face cards can like talk to you and they're able to, tell you like what's going on. They give you the inside story. And so they're like, okay,
Every face
look,
card communicates with me.
yeah, you were hit on the head with like a giant rock, and then when you woke up, like
Yeah.
the face cards just started talking to you. And at
Jesus
first it like
Christ.
freaked you the fuck out, but after a while you realize like, oh wait, I can use this to my advantage, The cards want to help you. They want to win.
Yeah. So anytime there's like a face card either in my hand or on the board, it will talk to me and tell me what's coming.
Yeah, it'll let you know. There's the all the face cards. There's the main ones that you talk to are like, the Queen of Diamonds, aka the Red Queen.
There- What about the other Red Queen?
Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of how everybody sees her. It's not fair, but she's definitely overshadowed by the Red Queen.
Okay.
Every time the Ace of Spades shows up, you hear that song in the background. The Ace of Spades, the Ace of Spades, by Motorhead.
Yeah.
And so because
That's
of
just
these,
Motorhead just plays in my head whenever the Ace of Spades comes out.
so it's not that it plays in your head, it actually affects like the surrounding area. That's the thing, is that you kind of thought you were going crazy, but then you started noticing that no, like these guys do have weird, unexplainable powers. They're able to affect the outside world.
Wait, well, so when the Ace of Spades shows up in my hand, the Ace of Spades, the Motorhead song plays as if it were being played overhead for all in the vicinity to hear.
If there's like a radio nearby or something like that, yeah.
Well, that fucking defeats the purpose. Now they know I have the Ace of Spades. What the fuck? Why are
Nobody
you
makes the
giving it
con-
away?
nobody makes the connection though.
Jesus Christ.
I guess that's part of the magic. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I
So,
guess. Must be.
and over the past like 6 months or whatever, you've grown to kind of, get to know the cards. You've grown to have not necessarily relationships with them, but you get to know their personalities and stuff like that. And there's a few that you're definitely like, kind of fond of. Um, you really like the Jack of Hearts.
Why?
You just think he's a badass.
All right. This sucks.
And even though you feel like it's going to give away your position, every time the Ace of Spades starts playing in response to this, you think it's fucking cool. Like you feel like you're in a Jaguar with the top down and the wind just in your fucking smiling face.
I mean, yeah, it's like a cool ass song.
Yeah. So you go to sleep that night and you have kind of an odd dream. In your dream, you're walking in like what feels like a long kind of dark hallway, and you can't really see what's ahead of you. And then suddenly there's like a spotlight almost shines down on like a figure in front of you. He's like sitting on like a medieval like throne, you know?
This is happening while the game is going on.
No, you're asleep.
Oh,
This is
I'm
the dream that you're
sleeping.
having. Yeah.
Okay,
This is the
yeah,
dream that
my
you're having.
apologies.
That's okay, man.
Who is this? Is it the Jack of Hearts?
No, it's this guy and he's wearing what looks like a almost like a jester's thing. You know what I mean? Like a
Yeah,
hat type deal.
yeah,
And he has like a big like red smile, you know?
yeah.
He goes, "Hello, Aaron, it's me, the Joker."
God damn
And
it, Matt.
he goes, "You want to know how I got these scars, Aaron?"
Bad.
It's the Joker. And he just
Just
and as he's talking to you, like as he's saying this, as you're kind of looking at him, you kind of like for just a second smell like just like the hint of like cigarette smoke, you know?
this is also the Heath Ledger Joker specifically.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's kind of what he looks like, I guess. Except,
Yeah,
you know,
because
he's
the scars thing is from that era. Just doing a Heath Ledger Joker impression is what you're doing.
I'm just telling you what happens. It's your dream.
Okay.
And so he tells you that he's like, I know that you're gonna do that poker tournament tomorrow, Aaron. Well, guess what, hero? They're gonna betray you. And you're like, what? And he goes on to tell you that
What?
the face cards that you have been using to you just decimate your opponents are planning on betraying you during the game. And he's like, but just say the word, Aaron, and I'll take care of it.
I don't know what the fuck that means. And I'm not gonna trust this Joker. This is a dream.
It's a
This is a
dream,
dream.
yeah. It's
It's a
all a
dream. I'm
dream.
not, yeah, I'm just gonna wake up from this eventually.
Yeah. And he goes, basically goes like, will you let me help you? You know, his voice is kind of like fading, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything.
He like reaches his hand out to you and he has like those like old style, like, you know, frilly, you know,
Cuff.
sleeves or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. The cuff, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. He
No,
reaches his
I'm not.
hand out and you look down and he has like so many rings on his fingers.
No, I'm not helping this guy at all. He sounds like Johnny Depp.
So
He's
you
turning
wake
into
up,
Johnny Depp out of nowhere. Sauvage.
you wake up and you're like, that was fucking weird. And you go to the poker tournament. The grand prize is $5 million
Damn.
and
What's second place?
an even bigger limo. And you're
That
like,
sounds like a lot of hassle.
yeah, but you know,
I guess in
so
limos, length is the name of the game.
yeah. So and you kind of like mutter that to yourself as you walk to the tournament, you know?
The BWL.
Yeah. You get there. And as you like walk into like the building, you kind of like psych yourself up and like right as you cross the threshold, like walking into the building, you do the thing that you always do just to pump yourself up. You just go, here we go. And you just walk right straight through the fucking door. And you were like
God damn it.
pumped, you know?
Here
And
we
you
go.
and you wreck shop.
Yeah. Playing my normal game, relying on the face cards.
Yeah. You get to You get to the final you're like down to like the last two people. It's you against old school player. His name is Earl Girl.
Earl
And
Girl.
Earl Girl is
Earl fucking Girl.
he is a an amateur poker player from like way back. And
Man.
he's never quit, you know? And he's kind of he's actually like a when you're not playing for like such an absurd amount of money, he's actually like pretty fun to play with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys act, but like he is all business right now. And you're down to the final hand.
I think I would tell him, Earl, uh, split this pot with me. Let's each walk away from this with millions in our pockets.
Earl
Everybody
Girl.
wins. I
Yeah.
respect the hell out of you, Earl.
Earl kind of like sits there for a second. He's like holding a cigarette, you know.
Yeah.
He takes like a big long pull on that fucking cigarette.
Yeah.
The whole crowd like leans in. They're on the edge of their seats. And he just starts laughing. And he goes, "Buddy, who do you think you're talking to?" He starts laughing. He goes, "You're a nice guy. I appreciate the offer, but my name is Earl Girl, and I'm taking this pot." The whole crowd goes crazy.
Yeah, why wouldn't they? What a power move. Well, he's putting him on the table.
Yeah.
Earl Girl.
So it gets to like the final round or whatever. So you or the last two dudes, you two. And they flip the first card over and they're like the announcer's like, "Oh, how did that get in there?" It's like a Joker's card.
Well, that's weird.
Yeah, and they're like, "All right, well, hold on just a second. We'll go ahead and reshuffle it. But actually this will give us some time to do a break. You know, got to get to our sponsors." And so they cut to commercial. And as the dealer reaches in to like grab the Joker card, it's like you hear almost in the distance, you hear a voice be like, "Want me to take care of them, Aaron? Aaron? I'll tell you how I got these scars."
No, fuck off, Joker. What I know of this Joker doesn't make me want to trust him,
Yeah.
especially this specific version of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, and so the dealer, grabs it and he's like, "Crazy. I wonder how that got in there." He puts it in his like breast pocket, you know. His nipple gets hard as fuck, like right as
Oh God.
yeah,
Like I could see it though. Don't they usually like wear a vest?
you can see it. Like, no, he's just wearing like a shirt, but you can like see it like through the card. That's how,
Ugh,
yeah, and the
yikes.
shirt, I guess. So you kind of like, stifle a laugh or whatever. Anyway, they're like, "All right, those were our those were our sponsors. Back to the game." And you guys get to the right down where you guys are both all in. And it has
Yeah.
been like a very intense game.
Okay.
You both flip your cards at the same time.
Yeah.
He has a queen and a king, and you've got two goddamn aces. And they're
What's on the
like,
board?
um, two aces
Oh, okay.
and a, a, a nine of clubs.
Is this Texas Hold'em?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, so there's two more cards to come out here. But at this point, I mean, unless they're like all suited, I'm gonna win this thing.
Yeah. And so
Four aces.
yeah, the next one is like a four of
Okay, yeah, I
hearts
win.
and then like a two of hearts. And you look down and you think to yourself, well, at least it's, think to yourself like, yeah, it's good that it's that
Two
one because
of hearts.
you couldn't bear for it to be the jack of hearts, even though it's the one that confirms that you won. You don't want to like defeat it, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah. You respect it too much.
yeah. Okay, that's fair.
And so you win the pot and everyone's like just goes absolutely crazy. And you turn to Earl Girl and you stick out your hand and you're like, thank you, Earl. You know, it's been an honor learning at your feet this past hour. And he stands up and like he leans in and then he pulls out like a like a pistol and he just blows your
So
brains out.
what the fuck, Earl? Are you
And
kidding me?
he's so pissed, dude. And he takes all of uh the poker chips and like puts them in like a bag and everyone's just kind of like
Can't do
stunned
that.
and
You
he
can't do
like
that.
runs away with it.
Earl girl, that
He gets
sucks.
he gets away scot free. He's able to uh he can't like turn them in for cash, he's wanted for murder. So he like sells them to people, at like discounted rates, So he's able to use that money to escape the country.
Great. Are you fucking kidding me? Earl girl?
Yeah, escapes to an unknown compound,
All
possibly in
right.
Australia. No one's really certain, but he stole he stole the
Great.
money.
Fuck him.